This week on Rockstar Superhero. I've been a Seahawks fan since I was a little boy. Now, I admit I'm a fair weather fan, but I still know great football when I see it. My father said that my guest today was the most committed player of his generation, at least on the Seahawks, and I'd have to say he was probably spot on. Lofa Tatupu is a man of standards, work ethic, and drive. As it goes, life after the NFL can hit all sorts of snags, but Lofa walked towards opportunity and away from his fears. Through continuous growth and effort, Lofa found his purpose, and his influence can be felt throughout the industry. He's a tactical businessman, and coupled with his smile and intelligence is bringing change to a community that has been maligned and stigmatized for 80 plus years, but no more. This is three-time Pro Bowl linebacker Lofa Tatupu of your Seattle Seahawks, and this is Rockstar Superhero. Here we are, sitting in front of each other today, and Lofa, I'm stoked, so thanks for being here, brother.
Rob, that means a lot to me, man. I appreciate you, and thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of things today that you've probably answered over the last 20 years with your career and now in the, in this space that you're in. But do you mind giving me a little family background? Because a huge part of, like a creative person is, how we were formed, right? What happened in our early years that sort of made us who we are. And you don't get to be a 1%er in the NFL unless you have a 1% mindset. So I'm curious how that developed.
Yeah, I was actually kind of an outcast in my own family. They're all creatives, and I'm the only one who didn't get that beautiful gene.
Sure.
Because I'm talking like from artists to musicians. My family has everything in there. Even my dad, he could play the ukulele and sing, and like he was musically inclined too.
Yeah.
I could only listen to music. I can only,
can't hold the tune.
I can only look at art. I used to love drawing, but I just couldn't. I didn't have that perspective. There's a unique perspective that comes with, the creative side of the brain, and for some reason, I was more like mathematical. It is or it isn't. Sure. And so I stuck to sports because my dad. I'm second generation NFL. He played 14 years, and so that's where the love and the passion for football and sports came about. My mom was an athlete too. She did track and field. They met back in high school and nice. Back in Hawaii, and so that was kind of the upbringing. And my sister, my cousins that they're my brothers. They grew up with me. Every single one of them can draw. My sister even teaches music. She went to school. So when I say I'm literally the only one that did not get those qualities, it's funny, but for whatever reason it happens that way. But yeah, I always wanted to though. It skipped a generation because my oldest, my son Kai and my youngest Kane, they both love music. Kai was in a band. He's coming up. He's always writing lyrics and songs. So. It's crazy, but it's helped, make me, have me grow. It's given me some growth in terms of, spending time, him teaching me. So not only has it formed that bond, it also helped me grow as a person, even in this old age, right? They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah. Well, my son is. So that's the cool thing about creativity and especially music.
Yeah, it is interesting too. I don't know if it skipped a generation, but I will say this, that I really do believe, I get it, things can be nurtured and formed, but to have a truly natural gift, like, any musician that's sort of worth his salt is somebody who was just born into. And it's the same thing with you as a physically fit, right? I mean, you are motivated towards, you've been created to be that guy that's running down that field, doing that thing that we all praise. So it's so interesting how we all sort of wish, it's like the curly hair, short hair, straight hair thing. We all wish we had something we don't have. And it just goes to show you that we all have this God-sized hole in us, so we better just get to work.
But that's really what it is, because, you know, even my path was not, you know, cut and dry in terms of athletics. You know, football was not my best sport. It was just, it's kind of like that thing. They're like, hey, if you love it, you'll be successful at it, right? Because you'll never give up. I think that's the biggest thing I took away from that, even at a young age, because I was so much better at basketball and baseball. Like, it was way easier to pick up a basketball and you know, and just outrun people, out jump them. And then, you know, baseball, I walk out there and throw a no-hitter or have a couple home runs. Like, I was like, but it just never had my attention the way football did.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that's because of my dad, you know, who, talking about superheroes, he was my superhero. I used to call him Superman even. And, you know, I wanted to do what Dad did. And he played 14 years, like I said, in the NFL. And, you know, so everything from the time I was 7 years old, and I remember going, you know, to Foxborough Stadium. He played for the Patriots. And so going to the stadium, watching games, you know, being in the facility, I mean, I fell in love with it. You know, I felt like it was almost like my birthright. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
It was.
And from when I'm telling you, from the time I was 7 years old, the first time I played football, I was telling everybody, I'm going to play in the NFL. And, you know, they were like, yeah, sure you are. You know, okay.
Yeah.
They kind of humored me, and, you know, and some just flat out told me, like, it's not going to happen, kid. You know, I was like, all right, well, you'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that because, you know, the argument in the artist world, and I'm sure you've heard this on with your family as well, is that there's so much content out there. There's no way for us to stand out. There's always an excuse, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And yes, there's a ton of content. That's true. And there's only so many players that can go in the NFL. But do not tell me that all it takes is getting lucky, because it's all about putting your nose down and doing the same thing. If you want to be in the NFL, pick a spot and excel, be extraordinary, outwork everybody. And then maybe, just maybe, somebody will notice you, and then you'll go to a camp, and then maybe, just maybe, somebody will bring you on. And then just maybe, I mean, there's, right? It never stops.
Yeah, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right? That's that old saying. And that's the truth. It's like everybody looks up years later, you know, and they, especially when they look at my career, and they're, you know, like, oh, you know, he got lucky, you know, or, you know, I can't believe he made it. And then even then there's the other spectrum where everybody's like, oh, well, I always knew he was going to make it. When I was like, unless you were my mom or me, or,
yeah.
You know, because I had best friends that were like, you know, Loaf, it's a pipe dream, time to, you know, move on and start thinking about it. Especially when I didn't get a major college scholarship.
Right.
You know, they were like, hey man, you know, you got to start thinking about your future. I was like, I have am I allowed to swear on here?
You can go crazy.
I was like, I have a fucking crystal clear picture of my future, and it's in the NFL.
Yeah.
And you know, and I would tell them, I'm sorry if you don't have, you know, the vision of what your future looks like, but I know where I'm going, and you know, I know how I'm going to get there, and it's gonna take a while, but I'm going to get there. And you know, so it's just funny how, you know, it comes full circle that I hear some people that say, oh yeah, I knew he was going to make it. We knew he was going to go to a Pro Bowl, and I was like, okay, you know, because I remember differently, but whatever. It's you know, the journey is really what I love the most, because it was a path less traveled, man. Even my only scholarships out of high school were to play quarterback. And, you know, right away I looked around and I was like, look, there's no 5'11" Samoan quarterbacks.
Not yet anyway.
Yeah. And, you know, and like really there was the read option, you know, the offense that Russ, you know, made famous, and a lot of colleges brought to the NFL. That was still at least, you know, 7 to 8 years away from becoming a normal offense in you know, any football, never mind the NFL. But so, you know, it is what it is. I think I would have loved the challenge of playing quarterback, but it's you know, I think I made the right choice, because I watched football, like I said, from sun up till sundown when I was 7 years old. My parents, they would, you know, turn the TV off, and, you know, sometimes even take the TV away, because I would sneak back down and watch. I mean, if there was a game, I was supposed to be in bed. It was Monday Night Football, and I'm I'm on the East Coast. That doesn't end till about 10, 11.
Yeah.
So if I heard them go to bed, I would sneak back down and go watch football. And because that's how much I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And I think it, when you're passionate about something, it has to be almost that borderline, that obsession. If you want to be successful at something, it's that you outwork everybody.
Yeah. Whoever's hired you, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to outwork the guy that's hired you, so he never even considers dropping you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you actually make yourself more valuable. That's, like in the NFL, they say the more you can do. And I mean, I tell that to kids all the time, in anything you choose to do, like you're saying, make yourself invaluable so they will not, they can't move on from you, but you have the choice to move on if because of, how good you are. But, a lot of kids don't get that. I talk to kids all the time right now that they're in college and they want to play linebacker in the NFL. And I was like, all right, well, are you going to be a first day pick? Like, are you going the first day, second day, third? They're like, I don't know. I'm hearing like 5th round, 6th round. I go, okay. Are you playing special teams? They're like, I've never played special teams. I was like, you are so far behind right now.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even though I was a starter for all 3 years of college, I was in those special teams meetings and I was playing special teams because I know, like, at 5'11", 240, that's, like you're saying, everybody can't make it. Well, they're already overlooking me because, 5'11", 240, and when the, average at the time, the linebacker was like 6'2", 250. So you got to make yourself, valuable. And, how do you add value to that? The more you can do is really what they say in the NFL. And so I was a key backup on like every special team that I could possibly be.
Yeah. And having speed, right? I mean, speed, it gets lost so much in the shuffle compared to size. There's this weird right? I don't even know. Look, I am so not versed as a football person.
No, you're right.
I'm a total weekend guy, but that's what it seems to me.
Well, there's track speed. So literally, like, you get on that track and you run the 40-yard dash, which they put so much stock into. And I didn't have that, I mean, you can work at that. You can get faster, but I was like a 4.7, real average middle linebacker. But when you turn on the film and all these different variables come into play, like formation recognition, down and distance, tendencies, where they're at on the field, all these things that a lot of guys, they don't think about those things. They just line up and play football. Mm. And for me, I'm like, no, this is my edge. So you're talking about how do you outwork somebody? Keeping a notebook of not just the personnel in the offense, but the offensive coordinator, because, we're creatures of habits, all of us as humans. And so, you start to break down what plays they like to call on certain areas of the field. It's just, and so like they'll go back and self-scout and try to like, okay, I always call this play, at the 40-yard line in.
Right.
And I have those plays written down and I know where I'm going to make the play. A lot of my plays that I made, I told my coach, all right, if they run this route, this concept, that's going to be my interception. And, if they run this one, that's going to be my tackle for loss. I had it just written down before the game. And, so that when I did get there, it was second nature. I was like, oh yeah, I've already been here before. And now I'm just going to, do what I saw in my head, because there was times where I didn't, and I dropped the ball, like literally missed the interception because I didn't have that planned out in my head, in terms of how that play is going to go. But yeah, man, it's incredible how much more goes into it than just running, jumping, the combine that they do.
Yeah. I thank you so much for sharing that because it's so true. I think about, well, just anything in life, whether it's, again, playing in the NFL, whether it's trying to be, a famous whatever somebody's trying to do, right? Or be an exceptional teacher. There's only so much study and preparation you can do. Granted, you can do a ton of it and you should, but when it comes down to the whole rubber meets the road, you've got to be capable of converting that intellect and that play memorization into an intangible that only a few people have.
That's well put, my man. That's exactly it. Can you think the game so that it's slow motion. Well, for a guy like me that was not fast on the 40, I was beating everybody to the ball consistently because I was 2 or 3 steps ahead mentally. And I was it got to the point, oh man, when, and I credit a lot of this to my coaches that I had in college. Of course, I played for Pete in college and in the NFL, but Nick Holt, Rocky Seto, Ken Norton Jr., they helped, instill those, study habits. And also like every time you graduate, it was like, almost like football school on top of going to school. Like, it's like, okay, now, you know every play and what you're supposed to do. Now I want you to learn the Will and the Sam, the outside linebackers. And I'm like, well, why am I going to learn their jobs? And they're like, well, because one, you're going to line them up, but two, if you know where they are, now you can take more chances to make plays because you know where your help is. And so it's the game went from checkers to chess, man. And it was that's when it becomes so much fun. And like you're over there and you're calling out the offensive plays, and you can see the offensive guys like, wait a minute, how's he know? Like you can see when you got them.
You're looking through their soul.
Oh yeah, they're like, oh shit, like here it is. He knows we're running power, and that's when it becomes fun, because then when you relay the message, and now you got a guy next to you that runs a 4.4, and he can run and jump like they want them to, right? You just cut him loose. I'm like, hey, go get him, and I'll make you right. If you miss, I'll come over the top. I'll make you right. Yeah. So it's it's like the best way to put it. It's like being in the zone. No pun, like zoning in. But it's
nice move there. I like that a lot.
It's like flow state. In positive psychology, flow state, where you're just totally immersed in the moment. You can't miss. Yeah. The best way I could describe it, like when you're really feeling it. You seen that? Was it Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah.
Like the fight scene when he's like, "Oh, parry the jab, throw the hook."
Yeah. It's very Matrix-like, right? It's very Zen. I mean,
that's exactly Matrix. Neo, when he's dodging the bullets, he sees everything ahead of time, and then now he's just reacting to it once it does. The ball is snapped. That's what it's like once you learn. And that was the most fun I had when I was coaching, when I saw the light bulb go on in another kid's head. They're like, oh shit, it is, that's it. And like, when you see that, and then you watch their level of play just skyrocket, because now it's, this is easy now. Like, it's fun because despite all the what they see, just modern day gladiators thinking we're just out there battling. We are, but there's a lot of skill and tactic that goes into the game plan and executing it. And when you see it done at a high level, I mean, you just marvel at it. Like that's incredible.
Yeah. There's a weird energy thing that happens. I mean, again, as a spectator, it's like watching a band on stage. If there's 4 bands, you're there for the headliner. You just kind of can't wait until the 3 bands before are done, right? Mm-hmm. But you can hear the talent and the skill level increase, and then when you and then you finally get to the band, you're like, well, that's why they're on the A stage, because they have, again, that intangible. They're prepared for the moment, but they know how to run that moment. I have to ask this though. As exceptional as you are, I don't want to say were, as exceptional as you are, and the length of the career you had, and coming from what you've come from, when you're standing on that field, and your opponent is a buddy of yours, and you're running up the field and you're guarding him, and there's this. You can hear the breath. See, that's the thing. When we're in the audience, or and the spectators, we don't hear the smack talk. We don't hear the "I'm going to beat you." You know what I mean? But I'm curious. I'm sorry for the long-winded. But it's more like there's a million ideas going on in my head. But I'm curious, because of the odds, the way things work. That guy's a pro too. Mm-hmm. Would you say that it's 50-50? Like, you're calling him out and you get like just destroyed, and then vice versa. Sometimes he's calling you out and he gets destroyed,
Oh no, there's there's a lot of egos on that field.
Yeah.
a lot of alphas.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're definitely going to let them know when you got the best of them. But I think back, there's only like a handful of guys that consistently beat me. And, like Larry Allen, Hall of Famer. It's
okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm okay. I'm not okay with it as a competitor.
Sure.
But it's like life. If something's out of your control, don't give any energy to it.
Yeah.
And beating Larry Allen one-on-one was out of my control. I don't care how hard I ran into him. I don't care, how much stronger I got. It didn't matter. And I mean, I will say this. I do have, because like I've always said, I'm not gonna die wondering. No matter what it is, I'm going for it. I went for it against Big LA, Larry Allen, and he kicked my ass. That just is what it is.
Yeah.
But there's not a whole lot of guys that can say that they consistently beat me, out there on the football field. And, but you definitely, it doesn't matter if it's a friend or what, when you're going toe to toe with somebody, it's on. And there's that. I miss the shit talking a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's psychological warfare. And, you could tell when you got somebody, already ready, close to giving up. But when you finally, it sounds sick. It is sick and twisted. But when you finally break someone's will,
so awesome
of competing, and you just like, yo, I got him. It's over. It's like there's an adrenaline rush there that's hard to match.
Yeah. Well, so I got to say something about Larry, though. At least you got to play on the field with him, right? Because that's like playing on a court with Michael Jordan. I mean, there are some people they're going to beat you, but you got to play with them. And how many people get to say that? And the answer is almost nobody. Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a couple other guys too that they have a winning percentage out of the battle against me. But Larry, it was like, I mean, if we went against each other 10 times, I might have won like once, twice, maybe. Wow. And by win, I mean I got the job done. I always got my assignment done actually, but it wasn't pretty, is what I'm gonna say. I ended up in my gap. How I got there was not always nice. I want, before I ask you a question, I do have to give you a little comment. Something my dad said right before he died. And so there's a little maudlin, but my dad was a lifetime Seahawks guy, and before he died, he was watching you play, and he actually said this to me. There's the only reason I remember this. He said, that guy reminds me of Kenny Easley. He never quits. And I was like, actually today I couldn't wait to talk to you because I couldn't wait to just tell you that, because that was like you were his first, like the guy that blew him out of the water. Like there was a different level of attack and approach and the balls to the wall that really turned him on. Oh man, that means the world to me. And I'm sorry for your loss.
It's life. Yeah, I know, but it's still, it's not easy. And no. But to get that compliment from him, man, that's incredible, because Kenny Easley is one of my favorite players, one of the greatest Hawks that ever played. Yeah. And yeah, man, that's I didn't play long. I wasn't here for a long time. I was here for a good time, and I did it my way. And I think that's why people remember me, is because I went for it. Yeah, I left it all out there, including some body parts, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That is, in fact, it was. I did this. Someone asked me they always ask me about the Beastquake, right? And I was like knocked out on the sideline. They took my helmet. I just remember a loud eruption of noise, but that was Matt Hasselbeck's last game and my last game for the Seahawks in front of the 12s, and it was fitting the way we both went out. So Matt went out carrying his son. He threw for 400 yards, like 4 or 5 touchdowns, like had a tough first quarter or whatever, but came back and had the greatest second half of his career, like was just throwing lights out. He was in the zone, right? Yeah. And I got knocked out like 3 times in that game, kept going back in. And the last one, me and Julius Jones, former teammate, like I said, hey, there's no friends when we're between those lines and we're competing. we knocked each other out. We both just fell flat on our backs. The trainers go get him. The trainers come get me. And there's a picture somewhere of the trainers literally carrying me off under each arm. They're like, I'm walking off, and that was my last game for the Hawks. So pretty much, I was like a gladiator going out on a shield, and I just thought it was fitting. It was just I think it was fitting to both of our stories. In terms of Hasselbeck and me, and it's incredible. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Well, okay, but so that actually leads into a question I've been thinking about this whole time, which is, how do you slow yourself down? Because there are certain people. So I have a very close friend who I shall not name, who's very well known, and he gets up at 4 a.m., works out 3 hours every day, goes to bed at midnight. So he gets 4 hours of sleep, and he's literally standing up all day. I can't even ask him to come over to my house and watch a movie. He can't do it. And I can appreciate that. I don't necessarily want to be that hardcore, but
yeah,
right. I appreciate it. But you're, to me, the epitome of the same kind of person, the guy who's just committed at all costs, which is why you get knocked out on the field, because you're saying this is worth the risk and the pain of going after. So how do you slow yourself down, Lofa? Because now you're stepping into this whole, the ZoneInCBD stuff. We got to talk about,
Yeah. Well, I ended up, it was actually easy to slow down as soon as I left the league. The transition for anybody is not easy. You're literally going out of your comfort zone, if you will. You're going into, a place where there's a lot of time on your hands. You don't know what you want to do. Personally, I didn't finish college, so I didn't, have that degree, which, finding out doesn't mean as much as they told me it was going to mean, that degree.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because once you get out, hey, everyone's got a degree, right?
Yeah, and you can tell them you have one, and they'll never check.
But so, I always thought, okay, well, if they got the degree, they got their head on straight, and they know where they're going. They have a clear vision of their path. But that's not always the case. And so I knew that football was always probably going to be in my future. And so when I did leave the game, I was just back watching football, like high school football games. And I was toying with the idea of getting back into football on the coaching level. But, my kids were little, and I think my oldest was 3 at the time, and the youngest was just being born. And so that's when the idea, it was, because I think I retired officially at 13, and then 14 went by, and then 15 came, and I ended up coaching with the Hawks. But so I got the call in 15 after their second Super Bowl, like, hey, you want to coach? And I was like, yeah, man, absolutely. Because, I love my family. Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome being at home. But, it was time to, officially close the chapter of playing, and then figure out what I wanted to do next. And a year earlier, before I accepted the coaching job, me and one of my former teammates and brother, Matt McCoy, we purchased some land out here for the real estate for the green zone. So where I-502 legal recreational cannabis was about to be turned from medical to fully rec. And so we got in on the real estate side, and then I was like, you know what? All right, well, I'm coming out anyways to take this coaching job, so I can pretty much do both. And so after 2 years of coaching, which was amazing, I got to coach, the greatest linebackers that ever played for the Seahawks, KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner. I just saw how much time commitment it was away from my family. And like I said, I missed my first 2 kids there. Well, my first kid was his 2nd birthday. And then my older son, it was his 6th birthday. I missed those because I was at the combine in February for my oldest, and I was at camp in July for my youngest, because people in the industry literally have to plan pregnancies around.
Yeah. It doesn't stop for you.
No. Right. And so that was the kind of, oh, wow, this is different. And this is not awesome in terms of I'm letting down the commitment to my family. Right. So had to make that decision, but me and my business partner ended up taking over the operations of a cannabis 1937 Farms, one of our other companies. And Matt and his brother Jeff, they run all of that. I was for 2 or 3 years, I was running operations at our processing facility because we have 2 licenses over there: producer to grow and processor to package and sell to distribution and over to retail stores.
Gotcha. Eastern Washington?
This one is in Duval, just past Redding. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll have to go one of these days.
Yeah, I would love. I've never been. My daughter's ex fiance. Anyway, he was a manufacturer, and he was actually a synthesist. So he would actually create strains, which is fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've test driven a lot of these things over the years. Yeah, I got my jam, bro.
There we go. So we're in this industry, right? And like at the time, I hadn't realized it, but I was in the worst health I could possibly be.
Yeah.
I was 275 pounds, which is 40 pounds, almost 50 pounds. The worst was 280. When I first came out to coach, I was 50 pounds overweight. But as I got in this industry, smoking really wasn't. It's not. I still smoke, but it's not. I'm an athlete. I play basketball almost every day.
Sure.
It's not conducive to a healthy, lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I started taking, small milligrams, microdosing, edibles. And that, just slowly started putting me back together in terms of inflammation, even just mood. And, and then, so at that point, I was not high. I was happy. And that's how I was trying to explain it to everybody. And then I started hearing more and doing more research, started hearing more and more about CBD. And so I started, reading every article, every book I could, all the things I could just to find out what it was, and bought up all these products and started, doing R&D. And I started, I found a better Fairwinds. Good friend James and Wendy Hall out of Vancouver, Washington. They made a phenomenal product. It was a full extract cannabis oil in a capsule, and it was the ones I started with. There was 1 milligram of THC, so you're not going to get high. You just feel the benefits of the CBD and the other minor cannabinoids or plant compounds that are throughout that capsule. So I'm talking within days, a whole mental shift that I couldn't imagine. I couldn't have dreamed of. Just the pain, falling away from, I only played 6 years. I had 10 surgeries and 15 plus concussions, 3 or 4 concussions a year.
That's commitment.
Yeah. And I didn't miss any time from practice. I might have missed the rest of the game. If I was knocked out, they'd pull me out of the game. That next Wednesday with pads on, I'm back in there. I'm clearing the protocol and let's go. And, I didn't realize the trauma that I was really putting myself, because it was my normal, when it's your norm, you're oh, this is just what I do. And, I knew physically I had made some sacrifices that I was going to have to come to terms with, hey, I just can't do it anymore down the road in terms of not just professional football, but life after ball. It'll never be the same, right? I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. I'm fine with that. But the emotional and the mental, and we know how crucial mental health is.
Yep.
It drives everything, man. When I had my best body, 25 years old, in the best, lowest body fat you could ever imagine, I did not have my best mind. And so, from the outside looking in, everybody thought, oh yeah, he's on top of the world doing great. Hell no. Right now, and I feel like I have my best body. Really, it's close. It's close to what
you look good, bro. Yeah, you look good.
Thank you. When I was 25, it's real close to that. And, but I never had this, mental fortitude and strength, and just it's insane. And, maybe part of that's because of being an entrepreneur, and that resiliency that I thought I had as a football player did carry over, but it's because all you deal with as an entrepreneur is problems. Yeah. Right?
Chase it all day. Yep.
But I mean, your reaction to it, right? To the stress and to everything that's what's important in life. And I mean, that's what, everyone's coming to understand is that, it's not what happens, it's how you react to what happens. And so this has put me, that's why we call it the zone. This has put me, zone in total control of what I control, my emotions, right? Because I'm acting more, objectively rather than subjectively to what happens on a moment basis, case by case. But, football, as much as I loved it, it was an abusive relationship. It was, I loved it and it kept just beating me up. And that's just, that's the best way to explain it. But I'm forever grateful that I got in this industry, because within months of taking it wasn't like I wrote out a plan. I'm a big thing guy, write things down. If I want to go get it, because it means a little more when I put it in a pact or a contract, right, to myself. And I didn't write down a plan to get in the best shape of my life. It just happened. I didn't write out a plan to lose 40 pounds, do things that I haven't done since I was 19, 20. It just happened. And so that's the other way of saying that is flow state. Like, it's just being in that moment. And I was like, everyone couldn't believe the turnaround I had from, just the perspective of, overweight. I mean, going through the motions, like, I felt like I was still having fun with life, but it just, I was going through the motions. And so everybody's like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? They're like, oh, what are you on, steroids? And I'm like, no, bro. So I started buying up, quality product and handing it out to friends and family. And I was watching them for 3 years before I launched Zone In. I was getting emails, texts, hey, did you know it does this for you? And I don't want to, these are all anecdotal, but whether it was, fibromyalgia, dementia, I even got, some people saying, hey, it's helped my grandmother with this. There's so many things that, and like a lot of people, that's why they go, oh, it's snake oil, it doesn't work.
Yeah, they're wrong.
They're wrong.
Flat out wrong.
They most likely got their hands on a product that was just CBD isolate, just that one compound, which has limited benefits. It's still, if it works for people, then good. I'm happy for you. Yeah. I'm not going to bash it, but it does pale in comparison to broad spectrum, which is, more of the plant, and then full spectrum, which is the entirety of the plant. And so with that, I was like, hey, I told my partner, I was like, hey, we got to pivot. This is changing lives. And as much as I love THC, I still love THC. I want to start this other company too, for us that, that can go, as of 2018 with the Farm Bill passed, can go federally anywhere we want in the US. And so, we did that. And, I'm sorry, this is the long version of, you say, how do you stay still because you're your friend? He's just grind mode. I think, my answer to that is that when you love what you're doing, just like when I was coaching, the hours, you get in there at 5, you wouldn't leave until 10 o'clock at night sometimes. The day flew by. And I guarantee you, for your friend who can't sit still, the day flies by.
Yeah.
He's so in love with what he's doing. And for me, I'm, like we said earlier, the product is changing lives. I'm the messenger. I'm one of them, just a messenger. Yeah. Because so when people thank me, I'm like, no, thank the plant, which has been here forever. And, so that, like, I couldn't be more grateful to be doing what I'm doing. Because I'll share a story with my dad. When he passed away, it was like 3 months before he passed away 4 months before my wedding.
Sorry about that. That's a tough time. Yeah,
it was, it's something you get through, you don't get over, right? And so I do it daily, but yeah, it's been 11 years, but I remember he would always come visit me in December, and his season would end, he was coaching, and he would spend a month, Christmas time out there with me and my wife. And I remember it was 2009, and he was just, the trip was different. I mean, now that I look back at it, everything, he was spending more time like directly with me, like just like, hey, let's go do this. Hey, let's go do that. I was like, man, you usually don't want to get out and do. It's almost like he knew, you know?
He did, actually.
I guarantee he did.
He did.
So we did a ton of stuff, which I'm grateful for now, right? Hindsight. But at the end of his trip, it was like a couple days left. He looked at me. He's like, "Hey, you ever wonder why we're here?" And I'm in the middle of eating dinner, and I'm like in Bellevue, like.
He's like talking about the big overarching spiritual why we're human here. Yeah.
I knew he was, but like I was kind of like trying to make a joke out of it, like, what are you talking about? Just because everything about it was throwing me off. And then I told him, I thought you were going to tell me why we're here. I thought you were going to impart that wisdom to me. And so we fast forward, and it was. He kind of like, laughed it off, like, don't worry about it. But he was asking, what's the purpose? Why are we here? What is our purpose in life? And so, I go a couple months later, and he passes away. And, I didn't know it at the time, but years later, it came to me that, because I always, that question just hung over me.
Sure.
Right? And I know the purpose of life is to help as many. We're not here for a long time. You help as many people as you can while you're here.
Yep.
And that's how we live eternal, through our kids and through all the good that we do. Because then you just hope to pass it on and make the world a better place. As cliche as that sounds. And my dad lived a life full of purpose, which is the coolest thing. And I wish I could have. I had those words at the time to tell him, because I don't know what he was thinking, right? But and when he passed away, he had a set of prayer beads. He was taking a nap. He always goes and takes a nap at 4:00, and one of his friends, he found him, and he said he was unresponsive, and they called the ambulance in, but they said, hey, he had these in his hands, and it was a set of prayer beads that my mom gave him back in like college.
Wow. So
like talk about knowing. He knew.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's my dad's story. That's why, and because of my parents and how they raised me, and my sister and my cousins, it was always, hey, put everybody else first. You got enough. You'll be fine. We'll be all right. And I think that's what I'm trying to impart to my kids. Is like, hey, just keep giving.
Yeah, man, Lofa. So I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know you've got a big life in front of you, but I was just thinking about what you were saying, and recently I've been talking to a number of different artists, and we're all talking about the same thing. We're talking about like life legacy and what's left after us, right? And we talk about children and all these things. And this is not to poo-poo what you just said. This is actually going in tandem with is that it's amazing that if you go, let's just say 4 generations from now, okay? Meaning we're gone, our children are gone, maybe even our grandchildren are gone, but you know what I mean? We're out there quite a ways. With the exception of recorded material like this, what we're having right now, or something that's been written in a business how-to book, or this man invented this product, or Beethoven wrote this song, whatever. Very little goes into the sort of legend of history, right? Very little. And it depends, I guess, on our ambitions, how much we think we should be in those books. But I guess what I'm trying to say is what matters is now. That's what matters, because 3 to 4 generations, nobody knows anything about anybody. It's like we never existed. So what matters is now.
Absolutely.
And to go in tandem with what you were saying, I go to this church in Fall City, and the pastor, he's my best friend. He's my best guy. And I was complaining to him about a year ago. I was just in a really bummer state. I needed your CBD at the time. And I was in a mega bummer. And I couldn't get out of it. And I kept sitting with him at a coffee shop. And every week I'd meet with him and I would say like, oh man, if I just knew my purpose and all these other things, right? Kind of being pathetic, a little feeling bad about myself. And he finally one day, he's like, this is the 9th time you've said this. So let me be clear. Let me stop you right here. He goes, Rob, God's purpose for you, however he made you, I don't care if you're the best drummer in the world, I am, or a great guy, a great interviewer, a good husband, because I'm none of those things. Okay. But he said, the only thing that matters is people. Your purpose is people. Your purpose is how you impact others. So if you keep asking God to give you your purpose, show me your purpose. He's like, he does. Every day you walk down the street, those people are there for you. How do you interact with them? How do you love them? How do you serve them? And I've never forgotten that. And I'm not preaching to you today, but I'm saying, but Lofa, what I like about you, what I've loved about learning about you today is that you serve people. You've served us actually in the football. You entertained us. You gave us joy. And now you figured out how to be a part of something that changes lives, and you're destigmatizing, because that's a bunch of bullshit. All the idea that pot and all these things are like, no, those are, if anybody looks it up, you'll see that this has been a fabricated thing to knock that market away back in the 20s or 30s, right? Hearst and the papers, the newspapers, and hemp and all these other things. So I'm glad you're doing this, because we need to get our people back, and we can do that one brain at a time through CBD.
It's saving lives, man. Saving lives. So
and it works, because I use it too.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to start using your product.
Yeah, right on, man. I appreciate you. I just, if something's working for you, I don't want you to go away from it. I mean, I know it sounds horrible as a business person. I didn't get into this shit for business. I got into this to change lives. And so, I just, when someone says that, I'm like, hey, the product you're using, if it's working for you, I just ask that you make sure you check that it has certificate analysis. So you go on the website or wherever, and you can track and you can see what's in that product, because there's a lot of bad players out there that they have heavy metals, residual solvents, pesticides listed on their COAs. It's there, detectable, but under a legal amount that would be,
Sure. Only 100 cockroach parts per pound.
Exactly. It's just got heavy metals in it. Go ahead and smoke it.
It's just some mercury. It's just a little bit of poison.
Gonna make you stronger. That's so that's what it's saying. It's it's an industry that I've come to, I love because of the people that are in it. Met a lot of great people, just a lot of good souls that they just want to see people become the best version of themselves, because that's what we're talking about. Cannabis and hemp, the only difference between the two plants, they're both cannabis genus plants, but hemp has little to no THC. That's the varying amounts of THC is the things, but CBD from each is the same in structure and property. It's just one illegal because it's derived from the cannabis plant, and which is federally legal. The other one's from the hemp plant, which is legal. So, but and that's just it's brought me to my best life. Everybody thinks when I was making Pro Bowls and in the NFL was my best. No, man, I wish I had this back then. I can't imagine how much better my career would have been. How much longer my career would have been. I hope guys are taking it now, because you're not going to walk away from you're going to walk away from the NFL. You're not going to crawl away like I did or get carried away. Right. Yeah. And so, I think that's a big thing that these owners are missing out on. They could because look, let's get serious. A lot of them, I'm not making a generalization. They care about margins, right? They don't care about people. I was lucky to play for the guy that did, Paul Allen, the late great Paul Allen. Yeah. My dad, Robert Kraft in New England. When my dad passed away, he called me. He cares about his players. I'm gonna say that much. And then also Arthur Blank. I was in Atlanta for only 6 months, but that guy, incredible, in what he does in philanthropy and helping people. And so, those three guys, I can say for sure, they care about their players. But you're going to put a better product on the field, but more importantly, in the community. Like that's because guys they're not gonna lose their minds with these concussions, because I've been there with the mood swings, the irritability, the forgetfulness, the short-term memory loss that I was suffering from at 30. I'm now 39, and it's incredible what it's restored to my learning capacity. It's incredible.
Game changer.
My life changer.
Yeah.
Because
oh man.
Yeah. So like I said, I could go on, and I mean, I've been, I don't want to take up your time, man.
No, this is fantastic. This is like one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah. But I got a couple more minutes, man. So
yeah. Well,
I'm forever grateful. I don't know where I'd be without it in terms of, and everybody, we were live, like you're saying, since the prohibition 37 is when the Tax Act came in. They essentially made cannabis legal. So it's been about 80 years that they've been lying to us, but they're now looking at studies that this can help curb or stop the opioid pandemic, or epidemic, and like so this is something they're saying, oh, it was a gateway drug. No, this is as one of my friends, Anna Simmons, says, this is the exit drug. This is going to get you off of what is drugs, because you can't overdose from cannabis.
No,
you're going to fall asleep before you ever take enough, cannabis.
And even then, you're just going to wake up dizzy.
yeah, or hungry, but
or both.
But, I mean, but you think, the gateway drug. Like, I'm not a hypocrite. I love alcohol, but that's the gateway drug. Like and for forever that's been legal, or since the 20s, right?
Or cigarettes, even.
Man, just outwardly telling people you're going to get lung cancer and die from it, and we're so ingrained to be used to it and accepting of it that it's it's crazy how many people go to the emergency room for alcohol related incidents every week, every day.
Yeah,
one person goes because they had an edible that was a little too strong, and
they call the police. Help, save me, I'm dying, falling off the cliff.
And so, and that's the call that goes viral. That's the call that goes everywhere. And then, what happens? Oh, nothing happened. Oh, okay. But, the alcohol related incident, alcohol poisoning, they died. It's just like, oh shit. Like, maybe, should we do something about that?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. Yeah. Just like I said, all the use cases that people have hit me up with over the years, like I'm saying, because this is our third year in business, but I, was, like I said, I was just, I don't know, right or wrong, I was handing it out to all my friends and family, and just letting them know. I was like, look, this is what it did for me with depression, anxiety, stress related reactions. Like I would stress eat, and that's how I got up to like 280. Anti-inflammation, it's a neuroprotectant, so it's good for your brain, which I was probably one of the best cases with all the concussions I had, and the effects, the cognitive, effects from it. So it's incredible. I could go on and on. I don't want to bore your listeners. If they made it this long, thank you.
Yeah, they will. They'll love it.
But I'm passionate about it, man. And it's a much better alternative than the opiates and the anti-inflammatories that I was in the sleep meds. I was on all of that stuff. And like, it's, you're not, that's the shit that's going to make you go through the motions and just merely exist rather than make an impact.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. So you are exactly what I thought you were, and what I thought you would be. And of course, being a part of this today too is, the heart for people, the superhero, the drive, the mindset, but all the things that we're all seeking. So I guess what I would tell listeners is, one, check out Lofa's product. I'll make sure that I link it everywhere that needs to be linked, whether it's the CBD or the THC. He has 1037 Farms, which is his cannabis company.
1937, yeah.
Oh, excuse me. Did I say it wrong?
Yeah.
And ZoneInCBD, correct?
Yes, sir.
So go to your local distributors, I'm sure. Wait a minute. I guess I should say this. Is it through you, or is it through like?
No, 1937 Farms is only in Washington, and
okay.
Like Evergreen Market. We're generally, because we're in Duval, so we're pretty much mainly focused probably Monroe down to maybe a little past Auburn, might be, Puyallup and a couple other places, but
Puget Sound area.
Yeah.
Metro.
Yeah, yep. And then for ZoneInCBD, go to ZoneInCBD.com and, read up more, check our certificate analysis to ensure quality and that there are no toxins in our batches. That's really what I implore everybody to do that, is using a product. Like I said, I don't want you to switch your product, Rob, if it's doing right by you. I want, but I do want you to educate yourself in terms of look at who would have thought that the fucking cannabis industry would lead to me reading labels? Like I never took any supplements when I was in the NFL. I was too scared to even drink a protein shake.
Right.
People, taking tainted supplements and like pissing positive for steroids and other stuff. I was like, no, man, I'm fine. I'm not going to do that shit. And, but now I'm over here. Like I go to the grocery store with my wife and she's like, are you reading a food label? I was like, yes. And, she's like, that's just weird, but cause she already has it memorized. So I'm over here actually making conscious decisions. Like, wait, is this one? And like, you'll find sometimes it's just fancy wrapper, a nice, box makes you think that it's a healthy choice. And then you look at the bag and you're like, oh, there's so much sugar and shit in this drink that I should not be drink. That's going to ruin, my day.
Yeah.
So and it's crazy how they've been so stringent upon the cannabis industry that it's changed me for the better, not just from the products I'm taking, but also from, educating myself on what's in everything I'm ingesting, because they're finding, a lot of it, your gut health, which cannabis and hemp is great for. That's what they're saying is where it all starts, and that feeds up to the mind. That's the mind-body connection that, it's really increased or heightened, like almost like spidey senses, man. It's crazy how, like your show, Superhero. I feel like it's turned me into the best version or superhero version of myself.
It is. I'm talking to a guy I really genuinely like. See, before... Right? Because before you came here today, we've never talked. We've emailed each other, but the reason I was drawn to you is because of the sort of the celebrity of the NFL, right? I mean, I've seen your name on a field. My father said, I love that guy, right? Those sorts of things that you get imprinted a certain way. You have an expectation a person's going to be a certain way. But the funny thing is, Lofa, it's almost never wrong, right? Regardless of the celebrity bull crap that doesn't really matter. Mm-hmm. The fact is you're exactly like I thought you'd be. Just really cool, really inspiring, great personality, and a lot of energy. And sure as shit, here you are.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it's like everybody tells me that when like they meet me, but I didn't feel that way. And I think that's the biggest thing that it's done for me, is giving me that inner peace or confidence inside. Now you think about that. That's a former all-pro, top of the world in everybody's eyes, but they didn't feel that way about themselves.
Yeah.
But now I do. I walk confidently, and I try to pass that good energy on. I've always tried. I've always wanted to be what you're saying, but I've never felt it until I got into the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like if it's changed my life like this, how many other lives can it change? And like how, why is this secret being kept from so it's like every chance I get, I talk about it, it doesn't get old. It's my passion.
Oh, well, I'm passionate about what you're doing. I'm passionate about you as a human. I'd like to spend some more time with you in the future. I'm sure there's ways we can do some events together. I can really support the growth of this, but I just want to say, Lofa, thanks so much. You're all the things, man. And, you've been gifted with extraordinary talents and a level of kindness that's pretty rare. And you've kept it all together, and you never let all that celebrity bullcrap get in the way of being the very best to you. So thanks for doing this today. This is really rad.
I appreciate you, brother.